So if you don't already know, I've been a coach and trainer for a little over 10 years, probably more than that. But I like to say the 10-year mark is because I like that accomplishment. But I've been a coach trainer for a little over 10 years, and I've had the pleasure of coaching a bunch of different people from all different walks of life, all different various beliefs and places, and it's a great. I count it as a blessing, right? So, but I've had the pleasure of training people all over the place, right? And I've even real talk. I've even had a coach myself on a number of occasions, right? I know there is great value in having the right person in your corner, on your side when you're trying to achieve something, anything, right? And in this case, in the fitness world, there's great value in having a good trainer on your side, right? So I say that, and then I'm thinking in the back of my mind, like, lately I've heard too many horror stories about, and I'll just flat out say it, terrible coaches and trainers, and within fitness, within the health and wellness realm, right? Within like even doctors, but that's a different episode. But it's just I don't know what's going on there. But I will say this. What I want to deliver to you all is, what to look for. If just in case, and I mean, look, you might already know, and that's perfectly fine. But what I'm finding is that I just want to play my part. I want to play my part in helping you all become better. That's it. It's as simple as that, right? So I'm gonna give you things to look for in a good coach or a good trainer. And I recently did an article in our local magazine about this very thing, but I was capped at 500 words. And I don't know if you can tell, but I'm a little long-winded. So I need a little bit more than 500 words to get this point across. I think I got the point across still either way, but I wanted to dig into it a little bit more because there's so many things that I wasn't able to say that I definitely want to say, okay? So let's get right to it, right? What are the things that good coaches and good trainers have in common? The number one thing, and of course I'll explain it. Like, the number one thing is they care about you and your well-being. And we have to say it that way because initially I actually listed it off, and I think I wrote this in an article that they care, right? And it's just like, well, and again, this is part of what the 500 word limit does to you a little bit. They care, but about you, right? And you need to separate that because there are a lot of trainers out there that care about themselves, right? So where they pull on clients, but it's really all about them and it's not all about the client. So it's just like, oh, I have 20 clients and that, and I just add a couple more, right? So it's about a numbers game for some. Others, it's about just being able to show off how much they really know to others, but it's not actually about helping the others, right? So there's a few traps, a few pitfalls, we'll say, in that whole idea of they care. It's like what they care about is important. The best coaches, the best trainers care about you and your well-being. I'm kind of mad a little bit because that should go without saying. It doesn't seem to be as common. So they care about you. They care about your well-being, right? Next thing, they're skilled. They have the skills, right? They have but to say that they're skilled, that's a coverall. That's an umbrella, right? There's a whole bunch of things that fall under that, right? First thing they have under skills is that they have the expertise to help you reach your goals, okay? Or at the very least, they have the expertise to help you get close, right? Which means, look, That breaks down into even like fewer or smaller subcategories, right? So they have expansive knowledge and they have the certifications to back it up, right? They, I, I went back and forth with a couple of trainer buddies of mine. We went back and forth on this whole idea of the certification, right? One certification means one thing, the other certification means the other thing. And there's some people who are rolling out there who aren't certified and they were just like, well, I don't have to get certified because I do such a good job, this, that, and the third, right? And so we got into this little debate about whether a good trainer absolutely has to be, or a good trainer or a good coach has to be certified in what they're coaching or training. And I'm initially, because, and this is, I'm a little biased here, I actually started off training without a certification. I didn't do any harm to anybody and actually helped a lot of people out, but that was the motivation to actually go get my certification, because there were more things that, not only just more things to learn, but it's just like, even if I knew everything, it just would have been a different perspective on some things, right? So it's just like, but that also tells the public that I am serious about this, right? And that's the one thing that I think that kind of changed my mind on the whole debate, right? You know, it's not a clout chasing thing. It's basically a statement making thing. It's almost like saying, how dedicated are you to your craft? It's like, sure, you can go through A, B, C, and D, but are you willing to A, put your own money on the line to go get this particular, put your own money and time on the line in order to get this certification? And it's just a certification. It's just a piece of paper. It's just a thing. It's the process, I think, where there is the most to gain, right? So the best trainers, the best coaches typically have their certifications. They have a number of certifications. They typically have so many certifications that they don't really matter anymore, but they also understand that it's not the paper, it's not the actual certification, it's the mentality that leads to the certification. I hope I'm clear on that one, right? So it's again, it's not a clout chasing thing where it's just like, oh, I have this certification from here, and I have this, oh, I have ACE, I have NASA, I have that. Like, it's nothing like that. It's more so, what did you have to do to get there? And what are you really that serious about this? Or you're just like, I don't have to because of this, that, and the third. And a lot of times when I run into people who say that they don't have to, it's a prideful thing. And again, I'm not saying anything negative about any particular person or any particular coach other than the ones who actually harm people. You know, but set those aside, there are plenty of good coaches and good trainers who don't have a certification, but I kind of don't understand the mentality behind that. Now, if it's a financial thing, that's different, right? But there are also a whole bunch of different free programs and lower programs that you could go to. And if you're charging for your training, at some point in time, the goal should be to go get that certification. Unless you're doing it completely for free all the way through, and then, well, maybe that's a different story, but I'm not so sure. So they have the expansive knowledge, right? But they know how to apply that expansive knowledge, and they know how to apply those principles, right? That's the second half of it there, right? You can know everything. You can know 100 ways to train your back, but if you can't apply it in the right way, whereas this certain type of client might be able to only do these 5 exercises, this client, or we'll call them client B, probably will only be able to do 20 of those exercises. And so knowing which 5 they're able to do, client A is able to do, compared to which 20 client B is able to do, that's the application of this knowledge, right? Good trainers and good coaches know how to apply what they learned and what skills they picked up. They know how to apply this stuff. Because look, they could know everything. If they don't know how to apply it, how does that help you? Right? It doesn't. So they have to know how to apply all of this knowledge. That's standard, right? So Beyond that, then they like I said, they're skilled, and under the skilled umbrella, their expertise, they're experts at these particular things. But now there's one last part here. It's pretty important, and it often goes overlooked, right? Nobody looks at this one. The best trainers and the best coaches have mastered soft skills. 110% all the way through. Non-negotiable. There is no other way to look at it. Right? What are the soft skills? Those are the things that are just they're kind of like they're looked at as like supplement skills, right? So it's like, I know how to build a house with my hands, right? That's a hard skill, right? I know how to listen to someone and I know what to listen for when somebody's telling me their story. That's a soft skill. So listening, soft skill. Communication, soft skill. Critical thinking, soft skill. Problem solving, soft skill. And adaptability, soft skill. Right? I picked those out for a very, very specific reason, because the best trainers that I've ever seen ever, the best coaches that I've ever seen ever, have all of that they down, locked in. They listen, they communicate, they critically think, they problem solve, and they adapt. The best coaches, best trainers know how to do that. That's what you should look for, right? And that's hard up front to find all of that stuff. But surprise, surprise, a lot of this stuff you can know off of a single conversation. Now, if you're looking for a trainer and you're talking to that trainer and y'all having a conversation and they don't present any of that stuff to you, then that's not the trainer for you. They will not be good. So, okay, let me. I'm going on a tangent because I feel the rant bubbling. I feel it coming up. Here's the thing. What bothers me so much is that, especially online, where you have people needing help, and the number one thing that's getting passed around, no, it's not an actual, like, hey, let's sit down and talk, let's have a conversation. Here's a program. What? You don't know what this person can do. You don't know what. No, here's a program. It'll heal you. Here's a program. It'll help you. Here's a program. You're going to grow so much muscle. So, kind of as a part of this, and it's not so ranty. I'm trying to contain the rants, but it's just like the best coaches and the best trainers individualize everything. They customize everything that they do for every single client that they have. And again, if you run a big box gym or whatever, you have a whole bunch of clients and they're all on the same program, I'm not even mad at you. It is what it is. If nobody's getting hurt, everybody's achieving success, bet. Do it. Go, fine. I'm saying the best, absolute best coaches, there's nothing cookie cutter about them. They like every single thing that they produce is different, because every single person that they serve is different. And they look at it that way. They look at it as a service, as opposed to, I'm boosting my ego. I'm putting my pride up. Like, let's go. Like, look at all these people that no. Right? So I'm a little fired up about this one. If you can't tell, because oh man. And then look, that's not even to say that I'm not a perfect trainer or anything like that, but at least I have these down, right? Like I'm not the perfect trainer for every single person either, right? And I understand that, but the way I operate here is like I don't want you to take this as like, if you're a trainer out there listening, right? I don't want you to take it as like, I'm just trashing you. I'm not. But there's a certain way, a certain path that you should follow if you are responsible for people to promote them to be better. If you're responsible for any one client or 10 clients or 100 clients, I don't care. If somebody is trusting you to help them get to a point where they're better without getting injured, then this is the path that you should follow. And if you're not, then maybe you need to think of your game and your game plan, and maybe you need to set up a little bit differently, because there's too many people out there getting hurt by these cats that think they know what they're doing and they don't. I will breathe. So the next thing, good coaches, good trainers, they're honest. They're honest people. They're honest in their dealings. They're honest in their assessments. So what you see is kind of what you get. There's no ulterior motive. Again, they're not trying to puff themselves up. They're not trying to just get you for your money. They are wholly about you and making you better. And in that, they will tell you the truth. Like, hey, look, that's terrible form. Hey, look, you falling off. Hey, look, like a common thing. And I fell for this maybe like 7 years ago, right? A common thing is just like, well, I don't know why they're paying me just not to come in, right? Like, y'all gonna have me on this topic. So I'm gonna put there's a certain chain of gym out there that was wholly started by two dudes who are completely out of shape just to make fun of the people who actually want to be fit. But then they base their whole business model, and I know y'all know who I'm talking about, that they base their whole business model on making sure that people pay for a membership but don't ever actually show up. Shame on them. Shame on anybody who supports that, and shame, like they need to get out the industry, point blank, period. Because it's just like, that's the exact opposite of what we should be doing this for, right? Why would I open up a gym just so people don't come? Why would I open up any business that's meant for serving people so that people who I'm supposed to be serving don't show up? That's and you make it so cheap that people don't realize that they're paying it every month. Like, there's a lot of sighing on this episode, yo. So it's just one of those things where that drives me up a wall. So there's trainers that have that mentality. There are people out there who are not focused on serving their people. And again, like I said, I'm not on my high horse speaking this at all. Part of this anger is the fact that I fell for it myself, right? Like I said, 7 years ago, I had a couple clients that would come through, and I had the program and everything like that. And it's just like, hey, look, you pay for these sessions, so whether you show up or not, that's no sweat off my back. And that was the mentality. And that, it changed, obviously. I feel very differently about that now. It's just like, well, why are you not showing up? What happened? What's going on? I mean, in essence, that's truly where Say Cheese and Lift was born, because it's just like, I cared about the total person. But the way I was taught initially to train, and the way I was, figuring it out, it was really just about getting the money, making sure you get that commitment. So the part of the anger is at myself, at what I was, right? I kind of had hope that things were changing and things were turning around a little bit, especially after all this stuff that happened with COVID. It doesn't seem like that's the case, though, right? Maybe it's just from my vantage point. Maybe it actually is changing as a whole. I really hope so. But at the end of the day, good trainers and good coaches are honest. They'll keep it a buck with you throughout the entirety of the process. They'll tell you when you're doing good. They'll tell you when you're slightly off. They'll tell you where you need improvements. They'll tell you where you killed it. Like, right? And they'll even tell you when they make mistakes, because none of us are perfect. We're still human too. We make mistakes. They'll own up to it and say, hey, look, we might have took a wrong turn here. That's on me though, right? Because I'm your guide here. And I just looked at it this way, and this is why we went this way. But, maybe we need to course correct a little bit, right? They'll be honest with you. They'll be upfront. Now, that's not to say, because there's this little bit of fear from a trainer's perspective. And I was just talking about this. This came up in conversation as well. There's a little bit of fear from the trainer's perspective for doing just that, because it's just like, if you're too honest, you lose the business. But my point was just then, well, why would you want that business in the first place? Like, why would you want to run that kind of business? Right? Like, I wouldn't, and I don't want to run a kind of business that's even slightly reliant on a lie. I just, that's not the way I roll. Yeah. So, ultimately, they're honest. They know how to motivate you to be your best, right? And that's a branch off of the honesty, right? But they also know what to do, how to do all of this stuff, how to bring it all together, and to keep you safe, right? Safety should be a primary concern for the good coach and the good trainer. Doing everything in a safe manner. And it's just like, so just this thought came into my head. So it's like, good trainers and good coaches help you get to your goals, but what they'll do is the least amount possible to get you to your goal, right? And I know that sounds like, oh no, they're being lazy. No. So let's just say you want to lose weight, right? You want to lose weight. They could say, you know what, we're going to have you eat at a caloric deficit, right? Let's just say you eat 2,000 calories a day, and they'll say like, hey, we want to take you down to 1,000 calories a day. That's overboard. That is a 1,000 calorie deficit. That's crazy, right? That's too much. So what's the least amount of calorie reduction that you can do and still achieve a change, right? One, that gives wiggle room. But two, that also ensures that you don't overdo it and cause harm, right? You'd rather do too little than too much and send you out. The best trainers, the best coaches get that. So they will give you what's minimally viable and build from there if necessary. A lot of this stuff, and I'm just sitting there thinking, a lot of this stuff you probably won't get up front, but you could tell certain things through conversation. One conversation. That first conversation that you have with a potential coach or trainer is important, right? It's more than just vibes though, right? Do they exhibit any of those skills? Do they actually have a conversation with you, first of all, right? That's why, like, I don't get the just going into, hey, I'll call the gym, I'll go into the gym, just give me a trainer. Like, it works for people, it works for some, okay, cool. But if you're going to go out and hire a coach individually, this is setting aside group training or partner trainer or anything like that. If you're going for that one-on-one and you don't actually have a conversation before putting anything down on it, I don't advise that. All right. Yeah. So that's it in its entirety. Okay. Those are the things you look for, right? They're skilled. Well, first of all, they have the knowledge base, right? They have the expertise. But even before that, again, that's not first of all. I said first of all. But first of all, they care about you and your well-being. Okay? Then they're skilled and they know how to apply it. And they have a whole bunch of different skills to work with. All that you'll be able to tell in the conversation, right? Or you'll also be able to tell conversation and word of mouth. That's why word of mouth is the best advertising, right? If you treat somebody well, that becomes contagious, right? So the best coaches, the best trainers, they're usually the ones who are like, yo, I was treated real good here. By him, by her. I was treated really well by them, right? So they care. They're skilled and they're honest. Those are the three. And if you're on the trainer side here, I would do whatever it takes to make sure that I exude all of those skills, all of those things. And the easier you could do that, the better off your business, the better off your training career, the better off you will be. All right. So take that. I know some parts came off a little ranty. Take it for what it is, though. All right. So hopefully it helps. All right. Let's keep going. So if you like this segment, here's another one for you. Click over here. And if you want the entire podcast, go this way. Click on that one right there. And once again, I appreciate you. All right. You take it easy.